Hello everyone, it's Peter Brown reading Heidi Kemp's review of Dragon Quest XI Echoes of an Elusive Age. The Dragon Quest series is a standard bearer for an entire genre. Numerous JRPGs that have come and gone over the years have adapted from, and built upon, many of the formulas Dragon Quest established in the 8-bit era. While series like Final Fantasy have transformed dramatically over time, Dragon Quest tends towards traditionalism, keeping many of its core gameplay and story concepts from game to game. Dragon Quest XI is no exception. The chosen hero and his growing group of party members go on a globe-spanning adventure in a realm of fantasy and magic, exploring dungeons, solving story beats to proceed, and battling foes in turn-based combat. It's a tale you're probably familiar with if you've played any classic Japanese RPG, but Dragon Quest XI is proof that traditions and tropes don't have to feel worn out and dull, as this gorgeous adventure will challenge your skills, tug at your heartstrings, and keep you eagerly playing further and further into its lengthy quest.
Fishing for rumors, huh? Some things never change.
The hero of Dragon Quest XI is a reincarnation of the Luminary, a chosen hero who will destroy a foretold dark presence. Yet, the glorious hero is not welcomed with open arms when his destiny is revealed. Some fear him as the harbinger that darkness is soon to come, wishing him dead. As the hero adventures from his hometown into the wider world, he makes many friends and faces many enemies, encounters wicked monsters, endures intense tribulations, and fights for light in the shadow of an empire manipulated by darkness. That setup likely sounds quite familiar. The story in Dragon Quest XI doesn't really offer any novel plot beats or twists, but that's not a knock against it. The game does a spectacular job of melding familiar story elements with engaging characters and excellent choreography. For example, a tournament sequence is something you see a lot of in Japanese RPGs, but the presentation, characterization, and sprinkling of humor present in Dragon Quest XI's tournament arc makes it truly memorable.
Hello, Galopolitans! This is... no ordinary Sand National!
One unforgettable sequence involves the hero learning about his mysterious origins and the land that he came from. While that sounds like nothing more than a genre cliche, the way it's presented here is absolutely beautiful and heart-wrenching. The characterization of the game's various personalities helps a lot in making the story and world as engaging as it is. Every member of your party has a well-developed, unique personality that accentuates their role in the story.
That's no way to treat a lady! Didn't your mother teach you any manners?
For example, one of the more memorable party members is a flamboyant entertainer named Sylvando. His over-the-top mannerisms, cheerful attitude, and combat prowess make him stand out, but you also get the sense that the clown act might belie something buried in his past. There are plenty of fun NPCs you'll interact with in the story as well, such as a love-starved mermaid, an eccentric dean of an elite girls' prep school, and a stunningly incompetent prince. Finally, the villains like the conflicted Sir Hendrik and the cunning Jasper present a constant threat that pushes you ever forward. Special praise should be given to the game's localization. While it does change quite a few characters and place names from the Japanese version, it does a magnificent job of making the dialogue and overall mood of the game feel warm, soulful, and inviting. Character personalities and the flavor of various regions of the world come through in dialogue with interesting flourishes like accents and spacing. I feel for the editor who had to write hundreds of dialogue boxes for the character who only speaks in haiku. Even the incidental menu and combat text has a fun, lighthearted feel to it that simply makes running through menus more lively. And when things get somber and serious, the writing changes to match, knowing full well what sort of tone needs to be set.
Thanks. I owe you one. I was starting to worry they were going to get sick of feeding me and decide to eat me instead.
You were starting to worry? And what about your poor little daughter all on her own, How do you think she's been feeling?
Dragon Quest XI is a very linear game. You hit one story point, solve whatever problem you're facing, be it defeating a monster, collecting an item, beating a minigame, or various combinations of these things, and then you venture out to the next area where you're presented with a new story beat, slashing down mobs of enemies along the way to build up your character's levels. You can go off the beaten path a bit to complete subquests and explore optional areas, but most locales are completely locked off until you hit a specific point in the story. And like the world, Dragon Quest XI's combat is familiar and traditional, but presented in a charming and engaging way that makes it feel anything but dated. Characters and enemies take individual turns based on their agility, and you choose what characters do by either picking commands from a text-based menu or setting the CPU to act based on preset guidelines. Animations play out as blows are exchanged and spells are cast, and every so often there's a funky little twist to the fight that livens things up, such as characters achieving a pepped up state that raises their abilities and grants them access to special attacks. While there's a setting in the options that allows you to physically move characters during battle, rather than having them stand in a stationary row, it doesn't change the combat significantly. Positioning doesn't affect attacks, and the fighting remains strictly turn-driven. Boss battles aren't terribly common, but the big fights are truly trying, challenging you to make use of your learned spells and skills against a foe that will utterly wipe you out if you don't play strategically.
Yeah, just sit tight while we suck every ounce of magic out of you.
Despite Dragon Quest XI's massive length, anywhere from 60 to over 100 hours depending on how you pace yourself and how much extra content and questing you do, it rarely feels like it's dragging its feet. There's always a new place to explore, a new character to encounter, or a new threat to tackle just around every story corner. Occasionally the game gets a bit murky when it comes to telling you where to go next. In particular, a mid-game sequence involving looking for 6 magical orbs winds up being very confusing, but it doesn't often keep you in one place or dealing with one subplot for too long. You also won't have to grind if you're smart about picking enemy fights and divvying up character skill points. And if you ever need a bit of a break, you can invest time in various minigames like crafting items, horse racing, and a casino with slots and poker, among other games. Innovation in games is talked about a lot, but it's also great to see traditional gameplay formulas that have been around for decades presented exceptionally well. Dragon Quest XI is one of the best modern examples of this. Its beautiful presentation, both visual and story-wise, combines with a tried-and-true gameplay formula for a game that's full of heart and soul. Once you find yourself sucked into the world of Dragon Quest XI, it's going to be very hard to put down until you reach the grand finale.
Introducing the one, the only, Tricky Devil!
Hi.
Hey, you're supposed to be shocked by my devilish trickiness.